Hello there fashion designers, welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, you're welcome, and if you're a returning viewer or subscriber, thank you so much for tuning in again. Please, if you have not subscribed to this channel, make sure that you do so before leaving. So in today's video, I'll be showing you how to draft a bustier with a shoulder dart. I'll also be showing you how to sew it and how to pad it. So if you don't know how to pad a bustier, make sure that you watch this video till the end. One of the reasons I'm doing this video is because I'll be dropping a video on this outfit that Vicky James is wearing. I'll be showing you how to draft the whole gown. So we can see that the upper part is the shoulder dart, and that is one of the reasons I'm doing this video. We need to understand the basics of this before you can manipulate it into different styles that you might want to do, just like how Vicky did here. Alright, so I'll be showing you in details how to achieve the down parts in my next video. So make sure that you subscribe and also click on the notification bell to get notified when I post a video. Alright, let's get started into it. First, on my paper, you can go ahead to fold into two by using a single paper. I'm going to go ahead to draft my starting line, and next afterwards I'm going to go ahead to draft the length of my half length. Alright, so my half length is 16.5 inches. I'm going to do that just like this. And then next I'll be marking my bust point, that is shoulder to my bust point, 10 inches, then my under bust 12.5 inches. So I'll just go ahead to label them so that you can identify it. So next, on the starting line, I'm going to go ahead to mark my shoulder, which is 7.5 inches. Next, I'll mark my neckline width, which is 3 inches. Afterwards, I'll go ahead to mark the depth, which is 3.5 inches. So I'll just use my curve ruler to connect it together just like this. So next, on my shoulder line, I'm going to go down by 1/4 inch. You can choose to go down by 1 inch if you want. Then I'll connect it down to my neckline just like this. So from my shoulder slope, I'm going to go down by 7 inches for my chest line. You can get that by dividing your bust into 4 plus 1.5 inches. So mine is 7. I'm just going to go ahead to mark that here, and I'll do the same thing, mark my shoulder 7.5 inches so that I can have an accurate straight line, and I'll just connect it all together just like this. So on the armhole area, I'm going to divide what I have there by 2, and I'll go in by 1/2 inches. Then I'll just get my ruler to connect it just like this. Next, I'll take my bust measurement, which is 34 inches, that's 8.5 inches. So I'm going to just mark that just like this, and then continue my armhole curve. Next, I'm going to mark my nipple to nipple, which is 3.75 inches. I'll take that measurement on my nipple point down to the waistline just like this to form our bustier dart. After that is done, I'll just connect it together just like this. For my under bust tightening, I'm going to mark 0.75 inches at the left side, and I'm going to mark 1.25 inches at the right side. So altogether, I'm going to be having 2 inches in total. I'll do the same thing on the waistline here just like this. Then I'll go ahead to connect everything together. You'll also notice that I'll go down by 0.25 inches on my nipple area so that I'm not going to have a pointed nipple curve. Alright, so when that is done, on my shoulder line here, I'm going to measure what I have left and divide it by 2, and then I'll go ahead to connect it to the nipple area just like this. So to form my shoulder dart here, I'm going to take 0.75 inches here at the left side, and then I'm going to take 1.25 inches on the right side. In total, it's going to be 2 inches. You can choose to mark 1 inches if you want, or mark 2.5 inches if you're a plus size. So I'll just go ahead to connect it down to my nipple area just like this. After that is done, I'm going to go ahead to add that 2 inches at the shoulder line just like this, so as to extend it. Next, we are going to be creating our new armhole curve, and to do that, so at the center of the curve like this, I'm going to just place my tape rule and measure what I have there. So here I have 7 inches. I'm then going to note where the first dart is. That's about 4.25 inches. I'm going to place that on the other side of the dart to complete 7 inches. So I'm just going to mark it just like this. At the end of the day, we have 7 inches. I'm doing this so that you are not going to have a smaller chest when you are cutting your fabric or when you are sewing. If you don't add what you've taken out, you are going to have a smaller chest, and it can be so frustrating. So make sure that you add all the dart allowances so that you can have a very accurate armhole curve. Don't just assume. So on the downside below, you can see that I measured what I have there. I have about ½ inches dart allowance as well. I'm going to go ahead to add it also at this point. All right, you can as well go down by ½ inch. This is going to make the outfit to sit well under the armhole area. That's another tip. All right, if you have been following me, you guys already know that I always try to explain everything in details, sharing with you the tips and tricks on making this outfit. Some of the tips and tricks I share with you are things that I learned over years of sewing. They are not things that I learned from my training, okay? So on this channel, I try to make you to avoid some of the costly mistakes I've done before, so as to help your fashion journey. So after that is done, I'm going to go ahead to mark my waist measurement. I'll take my waist, which is 7 inches plus the 2 inches at the dart allowance. I will add that, and that's going to be 9 inches. So I'll just go ahead and connect everything together just like this. And after that is done, I'm going to go ahead to mark my side dart. All right, I'll be taking 1 inches for my side dart. That's the difference between my half length in front and that at the back. Okay, so that's 1 inches. I'll just connect it to the nipple area just like this, and here is it. All right, so I'll just go ahead to use my marker to mark all the dart area so that you can identify it while sewing. So this is what we have for the front panel. I'm going to go ahead to start drafting the back panel. So for our back panel, I'll just go ahead to draft to mark the straight line for our starting line. Then I'll go ahead to mark the length. Now for the length, the half length of the back is 15.5 inches. So I'm going to go ahead to mark that and then draw a straight line just like this. Afterwards, on the starting line, I'm going to mark my shoulder, which is 7.5 inches. Next, I'll mark my neck width, which is 3 inches. And for my depth, I'll go ahead to mark 1 inches. I'll then use my curve ruler to connect it together like this. Now, to avoid bulging at the back of your dress, you need to go in by 1 inches or 1/4 inch. All right, so for me here, I'm using 0.75 inches, and then I'll connect it like this to the neck depth which I've drawn earlier. One thing we also need to take note here is that our back is not straight, so try to use a curve ruler to form a curve just like this. All right, so next, at the starting line, I'll go down by 0.75 inches for our shoulder slope. Then I'll mark my chest line, which is 7 inches. I'll also go ahead to mark my shoulder line like this, so as to get an accurate straight line for my chest line. All right, next I'll be taking our dart, and from the curved point, not from the starting point, okay, I'm going to mark 4 inches, and then I'll mark 6 inches upward for the dart. So I'm just doing this so as to have an accurate straight line. All right, then I'm going to go ahead and mark it just like this. Then I'll use my straight ruler to connect it like this. Next, I'm going to mark my dart, which is ½ inches on both sides. Then I'll go ahead to use my marker to connect it down just like this. So this is what we have. Next, on the shoulder line, I'm going to divide what I have there by 2. Then I'll just mark it just like this and connect it to the dart area just like this. Now I'll go ahead to mark 0.25 inches on both sides, making half inches in total. That's 0.5 inches in total. I'll just go ahead to use my marker to connect it like this. This way we have created our shoulder dart. And then I will now go ahead to add half inches on the shoulder area to extend our shoulder slope. This is very important, like I said earlier. So at the center of the curved line, all right, I'm going to add in the dart allowance that is there, and then I will then connect it together to form our armhole curve. On the chest line area, I'm going to take my bust measurement, which is 8.5 inches. Next, I'm going to mark my waist, which is 7 inches plus 1 inch for the dart allowance. Then I'll just connect it together to the bust area, the waist and the bust together. Then we'll finish up with the armhole curve. So this is what we have for the back panel. I'll go ahead to do the same thing by making all these lines on the dart area. That's going to be where we are going to cut out. So here is the front panel and the back panel. Next, we are going to go ahead to cut it out and then cut it also on the fabric. Please do remember that there was no any sewing allowance added to it, so I'm going to add half inches sewing allowance round, and on the side of the panel I'm going to add 1.5 inches sewing allowance. I'm not going to add any sewing allowance on the neckline area because I marked 3 inches for the width and then 3.5 inches for the depth, which is what I want exactly. So you can choose to do whatever neckline that you want to do, all right, but I'll just be going for a simple round neck just like this. Now, dear fashion designers, if you want to motivate me to release the Vicky James video early, then on the comment section write release, and the more comments that I have, the more it's going to motivate me to release the video early. Cutting it out like this, I'm going to go ahead to close the side dart, and I'll just put it up just like this, and then you can use a marking tape. Also, if you are learning one or two on this video, please make sure that you click on the like button. You can as well share to your community. At least once in a while, click the thanks button. Thank me for my hard work. So after you have placed it on your fabric just like this, you can then go ahead to cut it out. Please remember to add half inches to the lower part, to the side and to the shoulder area. On the side panel here, I'm going to go ahead to add 1.5 inches. You can see it, all right. So I'm cutting 1.5 inches and then half inches on the shoulder area. So this is what we have at the end of the day. I'm going to go ahead to add my interfacing to it, which I'll be making use of an hairstay and a wording. So first I'll go in with my hairstay. And then for the padding of the wording, guys, I did this 2 times. You guys need to click on this thanks button because I didn't know that my camera was not on. I thought it was on and I was cutting, and before I realized, I was done cutting before I realized that my camera was not on, so I had to do this again. Explain how to cut a wording. All right, so I'm going to be using the pattern so as you can have a better understanding on how to go about it. I'm going to mark 3 inches above the nipple area. You can mark 3.5 inches if you want. I marked around 3 inches or 3.5 inches. Okay, so I'll take note of the nipple points and also the underbust because that is the main point where we'll be padding. I'm going to come again 3 inches above your nipple point, and then your underbust area are the 3 points that are needed for padding your bustier. And then I'm going to use my marker to create the curve, to follow the curve. All right, so on the side I'm going to do the same thing, mark my underbust, the nipple area, then I'll go up by 3 inches, 3.5 inches, then I'll trace my pattern on the wording just like this. Now for the side one, I'm going to mark 3.5 inches from the nipple area, and then you just connect it just like this with this curve. So this is what we have for the padding. I'll just go ahead to cut it out. Please take note, I'll be cutting 1/2 inches, alright, because we use the pattern and on our fabric we've added 1/2 inches. So make sure that you add 1/2 inches for your wadding at the side, that's at the bust point area. So after that is done, I'm going to go ahead to iron it down with my fabric. You can see I've gone ahead to add my hairstay to it. This is what we have. I'm going to go ahead to place my pattern so that you guys can have a better view of how it's looking. You can see that it's aligning together. I'm going to go ahead to join the sides together. Please take note that you notch the nipple point area. When sewing, you need to pin down on the center front and the side front. So you need to join the nipple points together. That's going to be a guideline for your sewing. So if you notice that you're having excesses at any area, please try this strategy and you'll see that it works. Pin the 2 ends together, that's the 2 edges and the nipple point, and sew carefully by 1/2 inch following the curve, and it will align together, so you have no more headache on padding a bustier. This is how I'm doing it. Alright, so when it's done, I'm going to go ahead to iron it. Iron it with a steam iron, or if you have a dry iron, try to put water on it and you will still get a good result. But one important thing is for you to use your bust arm to do this, okay? Iron your bustier with your bust arm, very important. So I've gone ahead to do just that, and this is what we have at the end result. So thank you so much for watching. If you have not commented, please release on the comment section. Do that now. I'll be motivated to release the video on time. Thank you so much for watching. See you in my next video. Bye.